So, hello everyone. Uh, Today, my presentation topic about the three Africas, one voice, neocolonialism, African identity, and literature in the works of Ngũgĩ Thiong'o. So these are my personal information, table of contents, and first we see research question. How does Ngũgĩ Thiong'o's literary and intellectual trajectory from class-based analysis to cultural nationalism reflect the broader tensions between neocolonialism, African culture identity, and the decolonizations of language in post-colonial African literature? A hypothesis is if African literature, particularly the novels of Ngũgĩ Thiong'o, is examined through the intersecting the lens of neocolonialism, cultural identity, and linguistic decolonizations. Then it becomes evident that African liberation required not only economic and political transformation but also a fundamental reclamation of the cultural identity and indigenous language, without which independence remains a formal achievement rather than a lived reality for the majority of African people. So, here is the introduction. So, in the political independence, many African countries remains economically dependent, culturally dominant, and linguistically marginalized. So, here is some scholar Otheni and Nwakwa shows that colonialism systematically destroyed African social and cultural system, and Mofin and Vigorox warn that over 2,000 African languages face disappearance. These are not a distant historical problem; they are lived realities that African literature effectively confronts. At the center of these confrontations stand Ngũgĩ Thiong'o's. Here is a Google shows that Ngũgĩ moved from seeing Africa's problem is mainly economic to understanding it as also deeply cultural or struggle for identity, language, and psychological freedom. Using Abdelmadjid's three Africa's framework, pre-colonial traditions and colonial damage and the aspirational future. These argue that these three layers do not follow each other in history but exist simultaneously inside the same societies and the same novels. Here we see the three Africas framework. First, we see the Africa is the original Africa before colonialism. Africa had its own language, stories, governments, and tradition. Another thing is the Africa. Second Africa is the wanted Africa during and after colonialism. So in that time, European colonized Africa, divided it, and forced their language and laws onto African people. Third one is the dreamed Africa, the future. This is Africa. People hope and fight for free, united, and the culturally proud. So here is a infography of this historical context. So first we see before the 1880s. So Africa had complex kingdom, a trade network, and rich culture traditions. Another is 1884 to 1885, the Berlin Conference. Then 1885 to 1916, colonial rule. 1960s to 1980s, political independence, and 1980s to today, neocolonialism. African literature and cultural identity. So here is both scholars agree with the African literature is a better ground where questions of identity, power, and belonging are found out every single day. So Ngũgĩ's changing idea is that first stage it's a class problem. So in the Wheat Not and Child 1964 and the Grain of Wheat 1967, Ngũgĩ argue colonialism was mainly economic, and the rich exploiting the poor. And another stage is it's also a cultural problem. A Petal of Blood, 1977, and The Devil on the Cross, 1980s. The language question is in this what Ngũgĩ did. So in 1977, after international frame writing in English, Ngũgĩ stopped and began writing in Gikyu. Neocolonial elitism in Ngũgĩ's novel. So first we see in Petals of the Blood, 1977, then Devil on the Cross, and Matigari. This is shows overall novel's idea. And this question is who is African. So here we see in a border questions, many scholars are discuss about explain that colonial borders split ethnic groups across different countries and forced very different communities into the same nation state. Cultural and state power and Ngũgĩ. So post-colonial state as the new colonial master, literature as a resistance, and what happened to Ngũgĩ in 1977 after producing a community play in Gikyu, that ordinary villagers performed and celebrated. The Kenyan government arrested Ngũgĩ and helped him in the prison for a year without a trial. So demystifying the future in idiotis reading, and synthesis agreements and disagreements. Here some scholars are agree and some are disagree. So in a conclusion, the three Africas framework show as that the past, the present, and want and the future hope must all be understood together, because in Africa they have never truly been separate. So here are references, and thank you.
So, Nikita, how did the Berlin Conference shape African identity?
So during a Berlin conference, European power divided Africa into with artificial border, and the split ethnics groups, and forced different community into a new nation. New nation, and creating long term identity conflict that still affected Africa today.
So, Nikita, my question is why is political independence not enough for true African freedom?
So political independence is removed only colonial rules, but many colonial system remained, like economic control, and elite system structure, and language dominance continue. True freedom is not require true freedom require mental and cultural decolonizations, not for changes of government. So this is from my side.